It's been 12 weeks since we heard about the postponement. I've been speaking to many runners since then. I've been speaking to many charities since then. And with overwhelm comes anxieties and all the rest of it. So hence why I reached out to you last week. I wanted just to bring the team together. It's a fantastic charity. It's a big year for the charity. It's a big year for the London Marathon. And I thought, what better place to start with a man who kind of got the wheels in motion, as they say. So I really appreciate you taking some time just to have a bit of a chit chat. And like I say, in the climate that we're in, I want to share content. I want to share stories to our supporters, to thank them, to inspire them, and to keep them exercising, training, and motivated to fundraise. So, Mike,
so when do you want to start? Or have we started already?
I think we've started already, Mike. I think this is where we're at. I just think we roll with it.
Do you have leading questions or anything like that?
Where did it start, Mike?
Any questions at all?
Well, the thing is, Mike, I guess, where do we start? It's many people sign up for the London Marathon not having a clue who Whizz-Kidz are. It's true. And I've been involved with the charity for over a decade now. Supporting them, watching the ambassadors grow, seeing the great work that the charity does. It's so tangible. And I love the charity. And, many people that sign up don't know who Whizz-Kidz are. And when they realize what the charity does, they fall in love with it straight away. And it grows the charity, the fundraising, the retention, the recruitment, and it rolls forward. So people fall in love with the charity. But, I knew the charity a long time before I knew yourself, and we'll get there shortly about our time together. But I guess, people are on a journey at the moment. We're all in a life journey at the moment with uncertainty. We're trying to stay focused about getting on the start line of the London Marathon. So what better place to start than with the man that started it? So kind of, what's your journey, Mike? Where did it start for you?
Well, I ran a semi-successful business, and I went to a drinks party. So the story is, we'll keep it short. I went to a drinks party one Christmas. I had several glasses of wine, and a friend of mine who was then one of the sponsors of the London Marathon said, who'd like to run the London Marathon? And I put up my hand like that, said, yeah, I'm up for that. And I went home, didn't think anything more about it. And in those days, you couldn't buy bond places and all that. You had to get the places from the sponsor. And then on January the 18th, which is a day engraved in my brain forever, I got this fax through. It shows you how long ago it was, from the then athletics correspondent of the Sunday Times. And it basically said, the London Marathon is 12 weeks away, and here is a get you round schedule, and you have to go running. And I was really quite shocked by this. It was a bit of a horror, really. And I went home that evening, and my wife had some friends to dinner, and I waved this fax around them like that and said, you'll never guess what happened to me today. And, with a gin and tonic in one hand and the fax in the other. And the people who were there said, well, if you get round, we'll give you £1,000 towards a charity of your choice. So in simple language, my bluff had been called. And I phoned up another friend who is a doctor, a great friend. And I challenged him to do it because he was mad too. And we went out and we bought some running shoes and off we set. And by the time we got to the start of the London Marathon, this is not recommended behaviour. Please don't do this at home. We'd actually run about 6 miles. That would be the furthest we'd ever gone, because we didn't know what we were doing. More importantly, I thought if I'm going to struggle around this for, go 26 miles, I might as well go and do it for something useful. And I'd seen a young girl come into a shop that I owned in Covent Garden, and she was in what I now know is a powered wheelchair. It was like the front of it was like a forklift truck. It had a little seat, and the back of it was like a bumper car. And she came into the shop, and she pressed the button. The chair went up, and then she bought something, put the chair down, and then she whizzed off round Covent Garden. And I was intrigued by this. So I rang up the people who made them, and I said, how much are these things? And they said, well, they're £3,900. And so I said, that's fine. I already had 1,000, so that's fine. So now I'm ashamed to say this. I said, well, we need a child for whom we can raise the money, So they said, well, we've got this young girl who lives in Lincoln, and she's just been let down. She was promised a powered wheelchair. So can you help her? So I got on a train without a word of a lie, and I went to Lincoln, and there at the station, I met this young girl called Sammy, who has cerebral palsy, still has presumably, and she was with her grandmother, and they were in what could best be described as a sort of, what is it, like a wheelchair, but like a thing you feed children on. And they took me back to their house, and they gave me tea. And I spoke to this young girl. She was only 12, and I was profoundly moved. And I asked her for a picture of herself. And I went back to London, and I told Ricky that we were going to run the London Marathon to provide mobility for a child who couldn't move at all. She couldn't move. She had mobility problems, speech problems, a lot. And we sent a picture of this young girl out to all of our friends. And by the time we got to the London Marathon, in Greenwich, inevitably, we'd raised £9,000 for this young girl, which in those days was, hundreds of millions of pounds, as you probably realise. And so Ricky and I clasped each other, and we said all for one, one for all, and we set off into the unknown. And this is the bit that usually makes people sigh and laugh. 6.5 hours later, I crossed the finishing line in triumph, and I got a medal. And Ricky got there in 5 hours. He wasn't even really allowed to run the marathon, but because he was a doctor, he'd signed himself off. And we went out to dinner, and we celebrated. And anyway, lots of things happened after that. People said, "Why don't you do it again?" and so forth. We all went and ran the New York Marathon, which was a riot. And 1 year after the marathon, in April 1990, we formed Whizz-Kidz as a charity. None of us had any charity experience. None of us knew what we were doing. But my wife was in marketing. Ricky was a doctor. I was supposed to be in business. And the rest is history, really. I mean, 30 years later, it's taken over £100 million and helped hundreds and thousands of children. So it's a story of serendipity, I think, is the nicest way to put it. And we three who founded it, we just feel hugely blessed to have been able to do it. So that's the shortest version of the story.
Well, I love that story, particularly how it was kicked off with a gin and tonic, because I think many people have been on that start line because of a similar story. You don't understand it, Mike. I think it's over 18,000 disabled children have been have had their lives transformed. So it's amazing how a why and a purpose and just people can change the world. And that's why I love the London Marathon. It changes the world, and you've changed the lives of many, many, many thousands of young people, and I love the charity personally for many reasons. And again, it's one of them. It's such a tangible thing, right? You can see, I think it costs between £3,500 to £5,500 for the right wheelchair for a child. But you can see what your fundraising does. You can see what that work does for a child. And, there's a lot of entitlement in the world. And I think everyone's got a right to be a child. Every child's got the right for independence and to be a child. And this charity facilitates that. And that was done after a gin and tonic and the attitude of that you had. And it's amazing,
It is
great. We've got this story. That's what I love. London Marathon is about these sort of stories. It's about people changing the world and their own worlds. It's at the same time. It's amazing, Mike. Great story.
And everybody, I think the other thing is that everybody knows that actually to run a marathon, you have to go for it. It doesn't matter what age or experience you are. You cannot get around 26 miles without some form of aggravation. Whereas, you can, bless our hearts, or ride a bike from London to Brighton, and it's slightly hard. But everybody knows that to get around a London Marathon, whatever age you are, whatever your gender you are, or whoever you're running for, it's a real personal achievement because you've had to train, You've had to get through the barriers to go that distance. And as you know, this is a plug for you. The bottom line is, and I've discovered, because I've then did another 5 marathons, that happiness on the London Marathon Day is in direct progress to your training. If you train, it's not quite as bad as it would be if you don't train, as I discovered the first time I did it. So training is, there's no substitute for the miles. You just have to go and do it. And then on the day, it won't be quite so bad as you think it is.
Well, that's experience, Mike. I think you have that luxury once you've done something to say, I wish I knew then what I know now. And you can then apply it each time. I love the fact you rocked up there after 6 miles of training. We'll never run more than that, because it goes to show a lot of people, you don't have to run this thing. It's about purpose. The better you train, the more enjoyable the day is. Of course it is. And the greater the achievement, and the more you can push your body. But you can get around. I mean, the goal for the London Marathon is a bucket list thing. It's to get that shiny medal as a byproduct of changing your life and changing the lives of others.
And by the by, you can't engage in trying to get fit for doing it without becoming fit. You can't. You actually begin to feel strongly better.
Absolutely.
You feel better yourself, and this is, of course, one of the wonderful things about doing anything for someone else. You do something for someone else, or in memory of someone else, but actually you generally feel better, not only physically, but also the result of actually being able to help somebody else. It takes you out of your funny little self-obsessed world and makes you relatively useful.
Absolutely. No, we're singing from the same hymn sheet. And I think it's not just the physical benefits that you're highlighting, right? You train for something and there's many, many benefits to that, but it's the mental side of things, which we need, particularly at the moment. We're trying to support our runners and our teams to move and to try and train for something that they may or may not know it's happening yet. We find out on the 21st of June we get an update from the London Marathon. So when people are uncertain, we do as we think. If we think it's not happening, then we don't train, and people are just a bit anxious at the moment. So that's why I bang on about the benefits of exercise and not thinking so much training and performance. It's actually, what am I doing to my body to improve myself? How am I becoming a better version of myself by moving forward in life and exercising and fueling it through the right nutrition and learning? Life's a game, and we play it our own way, and we improve. We're designed to improve and progress in life. But it's the mental side of things that we need to use exercise for at the moment. It's not a need for like training hard at the moment. It's a case of stripping things back and moving, walking, listening to podcasts, reading, but just moving, just move forward. Power walking or walk running. I think we have a lot of stress in our lives. The last thing people need to be doing is adding significant stress of training hard. Now's a case of, it's just a case of looking after oneself, preserving our bodies and our brains at the moment. But that's where we're at.
Have you? Well, I think also to be added to that is that when you finally do know when you're going to run the London Marathon, or it will happen. You're going to go and do it, and you're going to get fitter, and you're going to become a hero to all your friends. But as importantly, you're going to change a young person's life. A young person who cannot move now at all without help is going to be able to move themselves around. So you're going to go and do something mildly heroic, like try and get around 26.2 miles, to allow somebody who can't move at all to move. Well, frankly, it's not a bad way to spend a day, or even a few months leading up to a day.
Completely agree. With this goal line, moving around and we're not sure, then people's motivation obviously isn't there. It's hard to be motivated all the time. And I think we put a lot of pressures on ourselves to be motivated all the time. Without motivation, we need discipline. And again, at the moment, it's very hard with discipline. It's juggling homeschooling, it's work stresses, it's all the rest of it, and anxieties. It's very hard to get discipline. But the only other thing to get to lace up your trainers and get out of the house is having a purpose and a why. And I can't think of many better reasons than raising money for charity and showing the world that life goes forward. That's what the Whizz-Kidz do. They help a life move forward, and that's life. And I think no, I just want people to listen to this, and if we can get a few people moving and going, you know what, that's what I needed to hear. Take the pressures off training for the London Marathon. Let's just improve your life, and as a byproduct, raise a lot of money and change the life of a young person, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Is this the time that you think you should own up about how you forced me to go around 100 miles on a bicycle?
Oh, goodness me. Force is very subjective. I've been cleaning up the loft, and look what I found. I did actually just find this earlier. You got it.
Really? Well done. Oh, great.
Well,
for those of you who don't know, I was challenged again because I couldn't run. When Whizz-Kidz was 25 years old, my wife and I challenged to go around the Surrey 100. And the Whizz-Kidz team was so concerned about this whole scenario that they lent Phil to me. And so Phil, the man who's speaking to me now, your hero, took me around. 8 hours it took to go 100 miles around the Surrey 100. And I can only say that he did it with charm and wit, and those are the main things. But he was also unbelievably motivational to the point where he wouldn't tell me what was going on. He was like, every time I said to him, how fast are we going? He said, no, don't need to worry about that. And there was one glorious moment when we could have taken a shortcut and we went past it. And he said, I said, shouldn't we have taken the shortcut? He said, no, we decided not to do that, didn't we? And I said, did we? Nothing. So actually, although Phil is charming and fit and all that, he's unbelievably good at motivating you to do things. So I would advise everybody does exactly what he says, because I did.
You had no choice working with me.
For you.
It's not a democracy. It's very much a dictatorship under my wing. But I take these things very seriously. My goal is to get people on a start line and get them across the finish line because it's life-changing. So I had a great time with you, Mike. It was the first time we met. We've spoken a few times on the phone, had a chat about your training, and then the whole day was amazing. It was amazing because we set off flying through at mile 20. I was having a great time. I was like, this is the best. This is Mike Dickson. We have a good chit-chat. Going through London, Richmond Park. I looked across and said, Mike, how you getting on? I was obviously enthusiastic, like the puppy dog that I am. And you just looked at me and you went, I'm not sure if I can repeat what words you said to me, but it was, because my daughter's in the next room doing homework. It might be French, so it might be apt, the word you said. But I was like, oh, okay, we've still got 80 miles to go. But it was brilliant. And it was great to share that with you. It was amazing. And we had a cut-off time, and I committed to getting you across that line. And we did with about 20 minutes to go. And it was amazing.
So the moral of the story is place your trust in Phil and don't, whatever you do, underestimate him or even think about arguing with him.
That's good. Glad you said that. It's much more powerful when Mike. So I mean, it's the 40th year of the London Marathon. It's the 30th year for Whizz-Kidz this year. It's 2020. It's my 15th year in the event. It's big milestones. I tried to get you on the start line this year, and you gracefully declined, but you managed to get your son and daughter to commit to running.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Delegations. My main talent, really.
That's a bit of me. So I'll be making sure that they get my treatment as well, getting across those lines.
Good. Excellent.
But Mike, I mean, I really appreciate you spending some time and just sharing the story, because a lot of people won't know the story, and unfortunately they won't know who you are, but they need to know who you are to inspire them, because what you've started created this butterfly, this domino effect. It's amazing what people can do. And this event, people can change lives. Never underestimate the power of fundraising, but also how good it feels to help other people.
Definitely.
It's to be grateful, and it's to serve others and to be selfless. I love the story, love the charity, and I look forward to us doing another challenge. We need to give that some thought. There is another one that charity just launching, Challenge 75. Last year they launched it for the first time. It was 75 minutes running as far as they could around the Olympic track. This year it's in line with what the London Marathon did, their 2.6 challenge. It's very much the same thing in terms of something to do with 75, 7.5. So it could be running 7.5 miles. It could be cycling 75 kilometers. It could be anything. So I would encourage anyone just to do something, to commit to it in August, and just have a goal, have a purpose, and just move. The byproduct is fundraising, but the goal is to move and to change your own life, to then effectively change the lives of others.
Well, you and or they will have to send me the details because, as you know, last week we were challenged to bike 100k in 1 week, which we did, which is not actually that far when you actually get into it. So we did it, and it's jolly hard work. But 100 people did 100 kilometres to raise money for the NHS. So when you get round, or when the powers that be of Whizz-Kidz get around to 75 something or others, Shuna and I will do 75 something or others, probably biking, to be truthful, because we're a bit past running.
Perhaps I could join you on a bike ride, Mike. How about we do 75 kilometres on a bike?
Yeah, well, it'd be quicker than 100 miles, wouldn't it? And we won't have to go up Leith Hill.
Oh.
So I'll join you. No, I'm up for that. No, so you and I could lead 75, well, probably more than 75 people riding. So we've only just had this idea, haven't we? 75 miles, 75 kilometres, 75 miles.
People do anything. It's more like people do 75 squats. It's more the point of getting them through their own challenges. However, we could start something now, depending on.
Yeah, we could.
We could be starting something now. So I will speak to the team, the powers that be, and we'll put something together. But that'll be fun.
Yeah, Shuna and I are up for 75 of something, but not squats.
Well, again, depends if you're under my wing or not, because I can be very persuasive. Mike, anything else you want to share? What would you, if someone that's maybe listening or watching and that's, I don't know, needs a bit of a kick up the backside or like an injection of motivation or hand holding, is there anything else that you could share?
Not really. That's not sort of terribly profound. I mean, the bottom line is, everybody needs to keep fit at this time for their own mental and physical health. And everybody should run the London Marathon to help a child who's unable to move. We all need to get over ourselves and get out there. So although it's really hard and it's been trying, just if it's postponed or whatever, then just postpone with it and do it, because you're changing a young person's life. And that is the purpose of the venture. The end, really.
Summed it up beautifully. Mic drop, gin and tonic in hand. All we need to hear. That's wonderful. All right, Mike. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. It's a pleasure again, and look forward to seeing you in person at some point. It's been far too long.
75 or something,
yeah. Yeah, I'll drop you a note, and we'll get that out to the masses. All right.
Excellent. Farewell. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day, and I'll connect with you very soon, Mike. All right.
Yep. Bye.
All the best. Take care, Mike.